Welcome, all you all-stars, to the Enemies of the Fire podcast. This week, we are diving into the Major League Soccer All-Star game against the League of MX All-Stars. We have all sorts of Olympic madness to talk about, and Leagues Cup and the Fire, to be or not to be. So, I am FC Neo Tokyo. This is James. This is DPG. And gentlemen, how are we this week?
Doing pretty good in the middle of summer, but that U.S. Olympics game was left a little to be desired for Marko Mitrovic and the boys.
That was a big dud. It was a big dud today, gentlemen. So I guess we're gonna jump into that here. The U.S. men's national team lost 3-0 to France at the Olympics.
The Olympic make it clear it's the Olympic U.S. men's national team, not the
You're right. Is the Olympic men's national team U23s, with the exception of Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman, and Mihalovic, which we will get to that decision shortly. DPG, did you see the game today? It was during work hours.
I did not. I actually watched the scoreline. I'm like, oh, not surprised. It's France. You know, much better youth setup than us. So,
but when they said Lacazette, I was like, oh, it's game over.
Yeah,
I put in the group chat, I was like, is that like ex-Arsenal Monaco, or not Monaco, but Leon Lacazette, or is this like some new kid?
No, that's a legit Arsenal one. Like, it's like they have the luxury of getting players from your youth team from Arsenal, the top teams in the world. I mean, we were lucky to even scrape the bottom of the barrel for MLS. So
I would not say that, but I mean, most countries have to pull from their domestic league for youth national teams. And really, I mean, we have better kids that are under 21, but they're not. Do you want Gio Reyna in this tournament? You know what I mean?
Why not?
Well, you know what?
Why not have three of our best players in the tournament? Oh, I guess they already.
The problem is that you bring those guys in, and then they lose 3-0 to France. Then it just makes it worse. So,
well, let's talk about that real quick.
I don't understand why they didn't bring a real striker like Lacazette.
Well, I mean, they got
Josh
turned
Sargent?
down to bring. Yeah, Josh Sargent. Well, who started today? Did
Malik
he start?
Malik Tillman. I thought he plays mid now.
So they wanted Ricardo Pepi. They got turned down by PSV.
Of course.
Of course.
I mean,
that's a project. That's a project. You know, you kind of can't really.
Yeah, he's trying to get his footing in a bigger role in that club. I don't know, man. It's tough. We don't really have a striker. That's kind of been our main issue. I mean, Balogun's young enough to have gone to this tournament.
I think what you're trying to say is we don't have a quality striker that we can use for a U23 team.
No, right? Hold on. Back in 2008, everybody was so creaming their panties because we brought Brian McBride. And now looking back, Brian McBride forced Josie Altidore and Charlie Davies on the bench. Was that the right decision? You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes it's why even bother with the overage players?
I'm not going to cry over spilled milk, you know, especially from something that happened 10 years ago. All right. At this point, it's like, the one thing that we have issues with and that we cannot seem to fix is these youth setups for between the U17 and the U23. Right? We cannot fix that. I don't know why we cannot fix that.
I can tell you right now what happened today. And that's this team is still playing bear halter ball because they couldn't change fast enough. They're still playing bear halter ball, and you saw what happened with bear halter ball.
I get that, but I always feel situations like this is much deeper than just bear halter ball. I think this is more or less issues within the core of U.S. men's U.S. Soccer Federation. Period. All right.
I have a question, guys. If the coaches were changed, if Thierry Henry was coaching the Americans and Marko Mitrovic was coaching the French, would we have seen the same result?
Absolutely.
Probably. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you don't think Thierry Henry is the answer, is what you're saying?
Absolutely not. That's scary.
Like we talked about this before. We just, we mentioned how youth setup in this country is just trash. Unless you got money to pay, good luck trying to get scouted by somebody. It ain't like we're in Europe where, you could be 13, 14 years old. You're playing really good. And one of the big club teams were like, hey, you know what? You're playing really good. We'll give you a contract. You could, go to school, do whatever, train with our youth teams. That's it. We'll pay you to play for us, not I'll pay you to play for your team, so to speak. So,
well, I mean, that begs the question: do we have high level talent that we're missing? And then
I think honestly, and we talked about this before. How you've seen guys playing Chicago street ball that turn out to be really good and whatnot. And I think a lot of times we let a lot of talent just slip through our fingers because for whatever circumstances that individual has, whether it's financial or just resources, and we're letting a lot of talent grow, especially for a country that has 350 million people. We can produce basketball players, you can produce baseball players, you can produce football players, but there's a disconnect when it comes to soccer.
And I don't really get why, because America does fine in hockey. Hockey arenas are hard to come by. Hockey equipment's like $3,000 a kid. It's very expensive.
Yeah, talk about
sport.
Pay to play.
But yet, but yet they still USA figures it out there. But another goal for Liga MX.
We'll touch on that in the next segment.
You're getting just let MLS
that be.
Is getting destroyed. Is Liga MX better than MLS?
Nah, next segment.
All
next
right.
segment.
Either way, at the end of the day, this Olympic team is not going to go anywhere. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think it's going to blow up on our face like it always does. When it comes to youth teams, it just blows up. That's when everybody goes into panic mode. And I told you that, let me tell you guys something. The Honduran U20 team, if you guys ever know where, it's right now the U20 CONCACAF U20 qualifier is going on right now.
Had no idea.
Yeah, they had no idea, right? But they have qualified 4 straight, to these U20 tournaments. 4 straight. The U.S. is like missing some. It's like up and down with the U.S. youth teams. It's just you might miss 1 year, you might make it the next, you might miss 1 year. It's never been like a consistent thing.
Well, that's what they talked about is why we missed out on 2018, right? Is because we missed like 2 straight Olympics there. Remember that Sean Johnson howler at the death against Panama or Honduras or somebody?
It was Honduras, bro. Honduras has knocked out the U.S. Olympic team so many times. I lost count already, and it's embarrassing. But then again, it just shows, who wants it the most. So there you go.
I thought I heard that the U.S. has not been in the Olympics soccer since 2008.
Correct. The last moment of U.S. soccer enjoyment in the Olympics, we were playing a tough game against I forget who, and then Michael Orozco Fiscal decided to like double dragon spin elbow destroy somebody in the face, and then we ended up losing. But
Moadu, Stu Holden, those guys were a part of that team.
Oh, that was a stacked Olympic team.
Yeah.
Like I just talked about, we thought we were so brilliant bring Brian McBride, and we're holding Josie Altidore and Charlie Davies back. Like the overage plays. And that again, so if I could just spit this out about today, the team played bear halter ball. They give up, so they hit the post a couple times, believe it or not. The U.S. kind of had the better of the chances despite France having the better of the play. And then France gets a dagger. And they score a goal, and the U.S. instead of wilt really pushed. They hit the post twice. They're pushing, and they got hit on the counter. And then boom, the third one goes in because they're devastated, right?
Look, man, if it doesn't go in, it doesn't count.
Well, I feel you, but it like as much as they didn't look amazing, they were a bit unlucky.
You know what
today.
You sound like? You know what you sound like? You sound like a U.S. men's national team fan from like 2009. Or 2010, I'm sorry. Oh my God, did you see that? We hit the post. Wow, we were almost there.
No, but like to ignore like what vibes do to a game is to ignore the sport itself. We don't stop the fucking clock. This whole sport is built on vibes.
Nobody remembers. Nobody remembers. That one good game the U.S. had, 7 years ago
against Brazil.
against Brazil. Nobody remembers that.
I feel you, but what the
point
what they do remember is,
you know what they do remember is when you get a gold medal, or a silver medal or a bronze medal. And that's what gets remembered.
I mean, the Olympics, I don't really care. I think the best part about the Olympics to me is that you will never dethrone like a Weston McKennie and James brought up in the group chat today that Tyler Adams is having surgery. And it's about time to wonder, is Tyler Adams just kind of done being Tyler Adams? And but you'll never unseat those guys unless other people get playing time. So the Olympics is there for Busio, for Tessman, for the one of the whichever Aronson showed up. You know what I mean? That's what this tournament is for, is to play those guys. And it's almost like, who cares what the results are? Let's see what these guys can do.
I'm looking at the coaches. I'm looking at Thierry Henry, and you know what? Today I hear an endorsement of Thierry Henry for U.S. Soccer. At least one more so than what I'm seeing here from Wilfred Nancy, as far as taking a hodgepodge of talent. I would rate Thierry Henry as probably better for a national team setup than a Wilfred Nancy at the moment, based upon these results.
I thought Patrick Gray was like the leading candidate.
He is.
He's gonna be the candidate. Thierry Henry is bad at coaching and is like, I played in MLS. These Americans think I'm good at soccer.
Right.
They're gonna give me this job. I think that's really what's going on. He wants the job because he of course you want the fucking job.
Are we talking the U.S. men's national team segment now, or what's up? Because I already talked about candidates and stuff. So,
dude.
Look, man, you took a 3-0 loss against France. That's it. We have not figured it out yet. There's no such thing as a golden generation. If you want, like I said before, you want a golden generation, maybe in the future when we win the World Cup, that's going to be your golden generation. Not now, not the next 4 years, because I don't see this team winning the the World Cup in 2026. All right. Maybe in another 8 years, 12 years, maybe. But
I mean, it takes time. Like, I don't know why everybody thinks that, like, America, just because we're big, should be great at a sport we didn't give a shit about for, while everybody has for 200 years. You know what I mean? Like,
what golden generation, what self-proclaimed golden generation has really ever won? Usually it's a golden generation that's that other people recognize. Like when France was running amok, they had a golden generation for that World Cup.
Individually, those players were amazing. You got your Henry, you got Fabian Barthez. You had Frank Leboeuf. You had an amazing starting 11.
So when they talk about golden generation, though, for USA, though, it's just not this. And same thing for England. Like they keep talking about this golden generation, which it's just kind of weird.
Listen, England could never find a way to get Gerrard and Lampard on the field at the same time.
I never hear Spain talking about their golden generation, and look how many tournaments they've won.
England. Every World Cup for England is the golden generation.
Yeah.
And it just sucks because they don't realize how low in the totem pole there are.
The problem with the golden generation. That's what you title this one.
Dude, they're completely like. I think golden generation has lost all meaning because we saw this Belgian team with all these individually great players. And it flopped so hard, even though everybody wanted to anoint them the golden generation. That now
argument. Yes.
Everybody is anointing people based on talent. And I don't care what some of those old heads want to say. Right now, we have the most talented soccer players who have ever existed as Americans.
So a golden generation.
So far, you are correct.
So far, this is not a golden generation. Okay, and I've said this a million times. All right. You can even say Italy in the early 2000s, they were great. They just couldn't get it together until 2006 when they won the World Cup finally. Germany had its little brief, 2014 world-winning team, which, great.
Was that Germany's golden generation?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh God, you're gonna get me canceled for talking about Germany.
So the myth of the golden generation is not it's not a myth for the people who don't really talk about it, but it's like for the people for the nations that talk about it.
Yeah,
it is a myth.
You don't realize it's a golden generation until it's over. Look at Spain.
Yes.
With that and Iniesta. Why am I blanking on everybody's name? Puyol. But no, that midfield.
Xavi.
It was thank you, Xavi, Iniesta. Yeah. I mean, unbelievable.
Shakira's ex-boyfriend or
PK.
Ex-husband.
But either way, it's weird because at this point, you can almost say that Brazil always has a golden generation, maybe up to recently, but they always have teams that could compete, and they will take you to the limit.
What was that cat's name? God, Donko, whatever the coach.
Donnie
Darko? Was a player for. No. The cat that coached Brazil in the 2010s.
Dunga. No, not Dunga.
Dunga.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, Dunga, you're right. And they had all that flair and talent, and he made them play Jose Mourinho ball. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, the thing is, man, it's like I know back in 2018, people were excited about this U.S. men's national team because we had just gone through a tragedy of not going to Russia 2018. So
we had trauma.
Yeah, we were trauma. We're like, oh my God, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. But the thing is that I predict that the one day that we will have that golden generation that's going to win the World Cup or won the World Cup, it's going to be when our lineup. You have guys that are playing like in Arsenal, Man City, Barcelona, Bayern Munich.
See, you'll have 2 or 3 of those guys. You know what? Look at all these World Cup winners. You'll have 2 or 3 of those guys, but then you'll have guys who are like the right back of Crystal Palace.
No, hold on. And when I say Arsenal and all those teams, I'm not talking about guys that are sitting on the bench. I'm talking about regular starters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, regular actual contributing starters.
Exactly. So, that's when we have that happen to the U.S. men's national team. When we have a core group of players that are doing that on a weekly basis in their respective league and teams.
So Serie A is not good enough. It's. No,
I said Juventus.
We want Liga. We want La Liga, and we want
La Liga, Premier League. If it's France, it has to be PSG or one of the top 3 teams. Bayern Munich, Dortmund. Man, you better be like on a Dortmund team that's like competing with Bayern Munich, not the one that goes and finishes 5th place.
Do you think an American will ever play for Real Madrid, and will it be Pulisic?
No. Well, yes and no.
Yes,
and then no. Pulisic is finding his lane. He is he's like the white guy that like salt is spicy to him. So for Italy, he is the most exciting winger on the planet, and that's where he needs to stay.
The thing too is that we're talking about these big club teams. We don't know where these teams are going to be at, 20 years from now. Mm-hmm. It could be another different set of teams that are like.
Right, Man City was not what they used,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. We had Claudio Reyna at Man City before Man City was Man City.
Yeah, and now Man City is one of the biggest clubs in the world.
So just things to think about.
So I think we've dissected the U.S. men's national team enough. That's kind of part of our brand. But sticking with the Olympics, I want to ask you, gentlemen, did you see what sporting event kicked off this year's Olympics? It was Argentina versus Morocco. And DPG, are you aware of what happened?
I heard it was a VAR call that took forever.
So peep this. This is what happened. All right, so Morocco playing a good game is up 2-1, nearing the 90th minute. And now I didn't watch this whole thing or nothing. I worked from home today, so anyway. So out of nowhere, when you probably could have only given like 2, 3, 5 minutes of added time, they gave 14 minutes of added time.
Is there a reason why?
I don't know. I didn't see one. Okay. So then Argentina proceeds to score in the 90th plus 16. minute. And so they start celebrating, and Moroccan and French fans, obviously, you can thank Enzo Fernando for this, for their anthem being booed, by the way.
That's right.
They were booing the Argentinian anthem. But so fans were pissed. So they were throwing shit. Fans got on the field, X, Y, and Z. So technically, everybody thought that was the end of the whistle. 90 plus 16, they score, it's tied, right? No, actually, the game was stopped. And then they cleared the field of people. Then they cleared the stadium. And so within 2 hours, they clear the stadium. VAR makes the call that the goal was offside. And they come back 2 hours later and play 2 or 3 minutes and finish out the game, and Morocco wins 2-1.
So this is this is basically a joke. The fact that this had to happen. I don't know if these Olympic refs are new to VAR, or I don't know what kind of system VAR is running, or I'm sorry, the Olympic committee is running, but it's a disgrace that it took you that long to figure out that it was offsides.
No, I think it was figured out quickly. I think what took forever was they were going to clear, because of the people who entered the field, they were clearing the stadium to play in front of no one.
You know what? Well, you know what? You could thank Enzo Fernandez for that, and the Argentine national team for that. And
also, a sidebar, real quick sidebar. Why the fuck have we not heard who else was singing in the bus with him? Anyway, go ahead.
Wait, so what did this guy do? Because they were
Messi damn sure tweeted out a picture of him like at home, like a couple hours later, like, I took private jet, no bus.
Oh man, he had an alibi. He could.
Yeah, exactly. Messi tweeted that alibi, baby. Anyway, James, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Oh, I don't even remember right now.
No, but here's the thing, man. It's just, you can't do stuff like that, man. Oh my! It's embarrassing, and the worst part is that like the president from Argentina is like so defiant. He's like telling he's like telling him, don't apologize.
Yeah, no, he's a real piece of shit. So anyway, I mean, personally, I like VAR to get things right, and I do not. Yes. The one thing I don't like is this like total freak out about how we can't have it take long. But like, it can't take 2 hours. Like, just call VAR, call it. Like, if it takes 5 minutes, takes 5 minutes, and then do the right thing. The goal was offside. Argentina sucks, and like, it was the added time itself was bullshit to begin with. It really felt like, let's play until Argentina scores. So that's where I'm kind of like, I'm happy that this nonsense happened, because it really felt like, let's play until Argentina scores. And so it felt good that Morocco ended up with this win.
Morocco's been good at soccer too.
Morocco is it's like one of those silent powerhouses from Africa. It's they can give you a surprise.
They did
well. I think we're coming
Cup.
Close to entering an era of African soccer that we all should be afraid of, to be perfectly honest with you.
No, you're not. Hey, I completely agree with you on that, man. It's like, you got Salah in Egypt. You got the Moroccan, Olympic team that's probably going to get prepped up for the national team duty after the tournament.
And then you already have the Ivory Coast.
Oh, yeah, you got Nigeria.
And then Nigeria,
Ivory Coast.
Ghana. You've got some
heavy hitters, man.
And they're only getting better too.
Before
they were very reliant
Ghana wasn't
on
as
three
great
or
as it
four
was.
players.
You remember Michael Essien?
Oh my God, Michael Essien, the AU brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I
thought, the Ghana used to be super good.
They are a little bit down, but like, again, you're seeing the squads like round out. You used to have like the 4 or 5 superstars that carried the like farmers. And now you're seeing these squads rounded out where this guy's at Celtic, this guy's at Crystal Palace.
I was going to say, yeah, exactly. You have like your 5 superstars, and you have everybody else that's playing in the same league as they are, just not in the bigger teams.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, they're still at this team in the second division, but that's because they yo-yo with the team. They're not bouncing, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? That's never a bad thing. Like, if you're playing for a mid-table Premier League team, I mean, especially if you're like the star of the team, you know, you're basically the fortunes of that team depend on that player.
So James, I got one last question before we end the segment. Is this going to be the wildest thing we see, or are we going to see any more craziness from this Olympics? Or are we going to look back and this was the big incident?
What
this whole 2 hours between VAR? Do you think we're going to see any more madness?
Well, basketball hasn't started yet, and they don't have Caitlin Clark to cause a spectacle, so maybe
so
something will happen there. And
you're thinking more like the Olympics overall, because I have heard
fabricated. I am. But I mean, here's the thing: we know soccer, we know that emotions get high and heated, but who really cares about this tournament? Like, I don't know if the passion is there for this tournament as it is for the Copa America, as it is for the Euros.
Well, this is more or less kind of a staging ground for a lot of these young players that I get picked up by European teams. So
yeah, some people are gonna watch, but I don't think it's gonna have that same oomph. But yeah, maybe there's gonna be another incident there on the ground. That's possible.
Because if you think about it, you can't really use like a U23 squad for Copa America.
And think about it. You just said they're all kids. These are all young kids. So
for the most part,
they're gonna do stupid things. So do I expect more stupid things to happen? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So it's this is probably like the best.
Oh my God, you brought up the kids. I can't believe I didn't even mention this. The three overage players for the U.S. played the worst today. By the way,
really,
Georgie,
Zimmerman,
Walker, and Miles. And I hate to say this out loud, but I feel like the Miles Robinson experience is over, and I hope he has a career that looks like Iko Paras, because I don't think he's leaving MLS. No, I'm being serious. Like, he's not the same player. He's not the same player since the injury. Like, before the injury, there was no problem with him being on the senior squad. He was playing well enough to prove his spot.
Who can you thank for that injury?
Isn't it Atlanta's turf?
Who was the team that they were playing against?
Oh, that was against the Fire, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, just bad luck follows them anywhere they go.
What about Walker Zimmerman? You said he didn't play particularly well. He's playing against kids. Like, has this pushed him off the team too? Georgie was never going to make the team unless he.
I think this was his last summer anyway. He peaked. And he had his moment, and I had no problems with him on the team, but I think he's starting to regress while we're also seeing people like Chris Richards grow. And I feel like, yes, he's becoming the secondary and tertiary option at center back. Always a good day when you can use the word tertiary.
Look, man. Like, guys like Zimmerman and Miles Robinson, they only play good when they're playing against CONCACAF teams. You take them out to Europe, and this goes for most of the U.S. men's national team, because when they face real competition, it's like they get punched in the mouth and they don't know what to do. So
I feel you. All right, well, gentlemen, this was perfect timing because the All-Star game just ended, and we are coming right back talking all things the MLS All-Star game.
Be right back after these messages from Enemies of the Fire. Put that like button to midfield.